I can't imagine the fear that this mother and daughter must have felt as they were held hostage in their own home. It all started on August 18th, 2020. Edwina Howard and her boyfriend Lavelle Govan got into an argument on Facebook Messenger. Now, Edwina says that Lavelle Govan told her that he was going to come to her house and get his things, but she was like, no, don't come to my house. I have to go to the store. And he said, well, while you're going to the store, will you pick me up a Coke? She really didn't think that much about it, but she didn't get back from the store until around 1 a.m. When Edwina got back to her home from the store around 1 a.m., she was shocked to find Lavelle in her home. She didn't know how he got in, but she tried to remain calm. Now, when she turned her back to Lavelle, she turned back around and Lavelle was pointing two firearms right at her. Edwina said that Lavelle opened fire and she was struck with one round. Edwina wasn't the only person in the home at the time. Her minor daughter was also in the home, and they tried to get away from Lavelle but ended up running to a back bedroom. Edwina told police that when she and her daughter got back to that back bedroom, Lavelle came back there, took their cell phones, and told Edwina that he was going to watch her die that night. Edwina told police that that's when Lavelle opened fire on her once again, and her daughter was actually struck with a bullet. Edwina and her daughter were held hostage in that room throughout the night, and Lavelle kept checking on them periodically. At one point, he came back and said, y'all ain't dead yet? Around 12 p.m. the next day, so August 19th, Edwina's cousin actually came over to the home to check on her because she hadn't been able to get either Edwina or her daughter to answer their cell phones. When Kashana went to Edwina's home to check on her, she took her 4-year-old child with her. So whenever Kashana and her 4-year-old got to Edwina's house, Lavelle opened the door for them and told them, like, hey, they're in the back. So Kashana and her 4-year-old walked to one of the back bedrooms at Lavelle's direction. Now, when Edwina's cousin Kashana went into the home, Kashana started questioning why it was so dark in the home, and Kashana turned on the lights. When Kashana turned on the lights, she saw Edwina and Edwina's daughter, and she saw that they were injured. She saw blood on the walls, and she saw Lavelle Govan, and Lavelle told her at that point she couldn't leave. Basically, Kashana just knew too much at that point. So Lavelle said, I'm going to make CNN with all y'all here. So Lavelle had 4 hostages in this one home in Strong, Arkansas, and he really wasn't sure what he was going to do. Now, he told Edwina and her daughter and cousin that he was going to let them go, but he had to wait until dark to do that. But then he changed his mind back and said he was going to murder all of them and then unalive himself. And Edwina said several hours went by. I mean, at this point, she was held hostage for almost an entire day. So then Lavelle found a straight razor in the house and he said, I guess I'll have to slit your throat since a bullet won't kill you. Both Edwina and her daughter begged for Edwina's life. They must have been so horrified, but that allowed Kashana a chance to run out of the home and make it to a neighbor's home. Edwina said that Lavelle started to chase Kashana to the neighbor's house, but whenever Kashana safely made it to the neighbor's house, Lavelle ran back into her house. He said, I'm sorry, but I have to do this. And then he fired more shots at Edwina and her teenage daughter, striking them both a second time, according to the affidavit for arrest. After striking them that last time, Lavelle ran from the home, got in Kashana's car, and he drove off. Edwina and her daughter were then able to leave their home and get safely to the neighbor's house after almost 20 hours being held hostage, and then they were able to contact the police. A bolo was put out for Kashana's car, which was a 2014 silver Mazda, and Lavelle was eventually arrested. Edwina and her daughter were transported to a hospital for their injuries, and Edwina had to be airlifted to Little Rock. It seems like Lavelle was so jaded by whatever argument it was that he and Edwina got in that he just lost his mind and did this terrible act, tortured this small family for all of these hours. I can't say that it's really what set Lavelle off, but Kashana mentioned to police that Lavelle said that he was upset because Edwina had called him crazy. Now, Lavelle did not have a mental health condition, but Lavelle had had several well-documented strokes, and that created some cognitive dysfunction with Lavelle. And it sounds like that seemed to be a pretty upsetting thing for him. Lavelle Govan stayed on the run for 5 days before he was arrested in Louisiana. When Lavelle Govan was arrested, he was charged with 2 counts of attempted capital murder, 4 counts of kidnapping, theft of property for stealing Kashana's car, and then residential burglary for breaking into Edwina's house. Those are some serious felonies, and if found guilty, I believe under the new state law that Lavelle Govan would have to serve 100% of his sentence. In 2023, the charges of terroristic threatening in the first degree and aggravated assault were also added to Lavelle Govan. Now, you'll notice that this case is from 2020. It's now 2023, and there has been no resolution in this case, but there is a reason for that. The court ordered for there to be a fitness to proceed exam done on Lavelle Govan, and in October of 2021, not only was Lavelle found unfit to proceed, but he was ordered to be hospitalized at Arkansas State Hospital. Now, he was hospitalized there until April of 2022. So that was a good, almost 6 months that he was hospitalized before he was found to be fit to proceed. I do want to add that even though Lavelle Govan was found unfit to proceed initially and sent to the Arkansas State Hospital, Lavelle never had a mental health condition. This was strictly about his cognitive function because of the several strokes that he had had. In fact, he was never even put on any kind of mental health medication or anything while he was at Arkansas State Hospital. At any rate, Lavelle Govan, during his second mental health evaluation, he did give an account of what he feels like happened during the events that led to his arrest. So Lavelle basically said that he didn't have anything to do with it. He does acknowledge that Edwina, of course, was shot. He says he has knowledge of the crime, but it just wasn't him that committed the crime. And then he just basically said that he didn't want to say anything else without speaking to his attorney first. In October of 2023, the state filed a motion with the court saying basically it's been over 3 years since Lavelle did this. He was on the run for 5 days before he was arrested in Louisiana. Now, the court has been going through this entire process for over 3 years, and we object to any further continuances being issued in this case. Like, we want to go to trial. It's time for this to be over with. Now, the defense, for their part, filed motions saying that the charges should be dropped because his right to a speedy trial had been violated, meaning that more than 9 months, if you're incarcerated, or 1 year, if you're not incarcerated, cannot be passed without that time being told, or your right has been violated to a speedy trial. But the judge ultimately found that less than that amount of time had passed, so the case will move forward as expected. It is set for trial February 5th, 2024, which is just next month.